I wasn't really sure what to call this one. Either how your point of view creates your reality, how you're actually totally fucking yourself over without knowing it, or how this sneaky little bastard is actually ruining all of your efforts. I've been noticing something lately, and it's been, how should I say this, a rather unpleasant lesson to learn. Scheiße. Now, I've been aware of it for a long time. I didn't really buy it. Like, I didn't really believe it. I didn't really want to acknowledge its accuracy, like its existence, until recently when it became undeniable. So I've been noticing, and by noticing, I mean that it's been blatantly obvious, staring me in the face, that your point of view does in fact create your reality. This is brand new information! Except, it's not. Not quite sure what I'm talking about? Have you ever heard things like mind over matter? What you focus on grows. Thoughts become things. It's kind of everywhere. It's commonly ignored information. If you think something's going to be hard, it will be. If you predetermine that something is going to be awful, 20 bucks says, you're right. This is not new information. In fact, we've got Confucius to Henry Ford to Mike Dooley to right now, all pointing to the exact same thing. Each one is highlighting how much a person's attitude or their point of view or their beliefs determine their success and their failure. The man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. Confucius. And by man, I'm sure that he meant person. Let's just give him the benefit of the doubt, shall we? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford. Thoughts become things. Choose the good ones. Mike Dooley. It's common to talk about your attitude or your mindset or your internal dialogue, your internal narrative. Whatever it is you'd like to call it, it might be useful to stop ignoring it and actually start harnessing its power to your advantage. The most accurate way that I've heard this phenomenon described thus far is your point of view creates your reality. Sometimes when I'm being a complete butthead to myself and then I recall this information again, it's like a smack in the face because it is so blatantly obvious. The most profound hacks that have the greatest effect are the simplest and oftentimes the most ignored. Your point of view creates your reality. Let's go with it. It's the points of view that you live with, that you function from, that you carry around with you on a day-to-day, moment-by-moment basis, that you actually create the way you experience life. Look around at just about any colloquial expression or cliche, and you'll see how that point of view is actually determining how people are living their lives, how they operate on a daily basis, their entire perception of the world and what's actually possible and what isn't. Check out the point of view, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So many people operate from this one. They believe that they're stuck in their ways and they can't change, can't overcome certain limitations, and once you hit a certain age, just forget about it. Then, check out the 90-year-old bodybuilders. You think they're buying that point of view? I don't think so. There are factors beyond genetics, nutrition, and exercise plans at play here. Perhaps it's their point of view. Call it mindset, call it attitude, call it your beliefs, call it your inner narrative. Use whatever terminology works for you. Regardless of semantics, this hack, once harnessed, is profound. Consider for a moment in your life, if, hypothetical situation, your point of view does in fact create your reality. Would it not directly influence the way in which you experience everything to do with living? Why are some days good days and others not so much? If all variables are the same, something's gotta be different. Let's juxtapose a good day and a bad day, all factors being equal. Meaning you had the same quality of sleep the night before, you woke up at the same time, you were working the same job, your socioeconomic status was the same, you ate the same foods, you drank the same liquids, you had the same group of friends, you were in the same relationship or not, you were born into the same family, everything. Why do you have good days and bad days? Could it be the point of view that you are choosing to live from that day? I started to acknowledge the my point of view creates my reality concept ages ago, but I didn't really get its power or the way I could harness it as a hack and apply it to every day of my life and living until a couple of years ago. I finally got to a space where I was curious enough about what was happening that I could actually finally be able to see the things that I had been ignoring and functioning from as though they were real and true for decades. I kind of love that I can say decades. It's very significant, right? Like, very wisdomous. I noticed myself actively choosing mind over matter on my birthday. I love birthdays, and I love celebrating my friends and my family and people that I adore and doing extra special little things for them, just honestly for the sheer fun of it and the joy that it brings people. Small caveat. When I was a kid, my mom and my siblings really did make my birthday very special. I had a lot of fun, and I am truly grateful for everything that they did for me. What I'm talking about now is when I started going to school. My birthdays were always a bit weird. I felt disappointed a lot. I would go all out for my friends and make them feel special and loved and appreciated and it all about them for the day. And then on my birthday, people would be like, "Oh yeah, it's your birthday. Happy birthday." I realize that the world does not revolve around me. The point that I'm going to show you is not a woe is me moment. I made a choice. I was going to make my birthday a fun day for me because I could. I would wake up on my birthday and no matter what was going on, nothing could ruin that day. I don't know why my birthday was so significant or why I made it such a big deal, but to my young, tiny self, it was. So let's just go with it, okay? And maybe suspend the judgment just for the entirety of this video. So I would wake up on my birthday and no matter what was going on, nothing could ruin that day. It was raining, couldn't go tobogganing like I wanted to? Cool. Somebody was being an asshole? Oh well, can't ruin my birthday. Things not going to plan? Oh well, can't ruin my birthday. A bunch of shit just came up that I really needed to handle right away? Okay. What's it gonna take to get this sorted so that we can go out and have fun later? Ease. Snowstorm? Can't do the thing that we planned? Oh well. What else would be a lot of fun that we could do today? I chose to be happy no matter what. No matter what was going on, no matter what was showing up, no matter what. And no matter what anybody else was choosing. This became a crystal clear case and point example of how my point of view truly was creating my reality and my experience of life that day. The point of view that I was choosing to operate from affected how I responded to everything that showed up that day. It literally created how I showed up that day, how I chose to engage with everybody that day, how I chose to feel that day, how much fun I had, how much I enjoyed the people around me, how much I chose to be annoyed or not annoyed with anyone or anything that was going on. It was the determinant of my attitude that day and my internal narrative. The real thing that I'm looking at here, that I've been playing with hacking for the last few years, is actually acknowledging just how much your point of view is the underlying current that affects all of your actions, and that it is actually the thing that is directing your entire life. It's this simultaneous undertone and overlay in this really, really powerful and dynamic way. And we think that we don't have any say over it, that we're the effect of it, that it's just there. And this is where one of the greatest hacks to enjoying our lives lives. Do you ever feel like you can't achieve what you'd like to achieve? You're not making progress in the way that you'd like to, no matter what you do, no matter what actions you take. Even if you're doing all the right stuff, you're eating the right way, you're going to sleep at the right time, you're doing the right kind of exercise, you're working the right job, you're with the right person. If there is this continuous undertone overlay throughout every single one of those actions and choices that doesn't match, that's not energetically congruent, that's actually in direct opposition to all of those right actions that you're taking. Do you really think you're going to get where you'd like to go? This little bugger of an undertone can sound something like, you're still not doing it right. You're not consistent enough. You've got bad genes, so you're screwed no matter what you do. Diets don't work for you. Exercise doesn't work for you. Nobody likes you anyway, so why are you trying so hard to make a positive impact? See, you messed that one up. Your entire week is down the drain. Well, looky here. Another self-sabotage moment with the cookie dough overeating at midnight. Shocking. Well, we slept like shit again tonight, so the entire week's gonna be a write-off anyway. We didn't train hard enough this week. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. We did way too much of this, not enough of that. You know what? I'm too lazy anyways. I'm actually really not good at this. I'm too much of this. I'm not enough of that. Everybody in my family's overweight anyway. I just have bad genes. I am doomed to that fate no matter what I do. I'm not good at XYZ. I'm not smart enough to pull that off. There's no way I could do that, period. I don't have enough money to do that, so I might as well not even try. Life is a struggle. I should just give up now. Etc., etc., etc. Do you see what I mean? All of that nasty undertone baloney is what actually wins. Holy shit. Our potential for sabotage or success, for happiness or sadness, or being condemned to doom and suffering for the remainder of your life, or living a life full of possibilities and joy, all comes down to our point of view, and all of the points of view that we choose to live by every single day. What? How do you hack that shit? It's called awareness and acknowledgement. All you have to do is start looking at the points of view that you're living and functioning from. Get bluntly honest with yourself and start questioning, from curiosity, everything that you're thinking. What is this point of view that I'm truly functioning from here? What's this point of view that I'm using to create this thing showing up or not showing up in my life? It's important to note that this is not about forced positivity. This is about acknowledging the fundamental points of view that we are living by. The opinions we hold, the beliefs we harbor, the thoughts we have, the emotions that are running our days. They are the building blocks from which we are constructing our entire lives. If we were really willing to get honest with ourselves about all of the points of view that we're functioning from, we would see that our lives are showing up exactly as those points of view would dictate. I can vividly recall the day I saw the points of view that were running my life. At the time, I was working at my parents' landscape depot and had gone into my boss/mom's office with a question about one of the tractors I was working on. We spoke about it, and as I was just about to leave, she asked me how I was doing. The way she said it was with this genuine caring. She was truly just curious if I was okay. My mom knew about my anxiety and depression. She was the only person who knew the remote extent of my pain. Every day was an exhausting fight to keep myself from jumping in front of a vehicle, attempting not to drown from the overwhelming panic attacks that were an everyday debilitating occurrence. And I really do not say that lightly. That day, when she asked me how I was, we were both at work. She was sitting in her office with a million things on her to-do list. This was in the middle of a really busy summer day at a landscape depot. Phones were ringing, vehicles were driving in and out of the laneway, customers were walking around the yard, employees were calling each other on their radios. It was busy, but she was so present with me. Something broke open and I burst into tears. This onslaught of cruel self-criticism and judgment came tumbling out of my mouth. Everything that was making me sad, all the ways I thought I was a complete pile of shit, all the things I was frustrated about, everywhere I was judging me for not being able to be just like everybody else and be happy, how much I hated my body, how sick and tired I was of being in continuous pain. and the agony of being diagnosed with a slew of illnesses that came with this dauntingly joyless, concrete life sentence attached to them, and how mad I was at myself for not being able to just wake up happy. This was one of the first times that I just let my thoughts tumble out of my face, and I didn't try to cover up how hideously unkind I knew they were and would never admit to out loud. It was the first time that I said everything out loud in that way. And I could hear them. I could see them differently. You know when you're in your head and everything makes sense? You can just keep going over and over and over it, and you don't have to attach logic, you don't have to explain anything. There's just this whole universe that you've created, and then when you try to go and say it out loud to somebody else or explain it, it's really hard to put it all into words. By letting myself just go and say everything out loud, it was like I took the veil off of something. I could literally see the words continuously streaming through my head that were running my life. Have you ever seen The Matrix? You know when Neo is looking at the Matrix, like the code, the green squiggly code for the first time, and he can't read it. He has no idea what it says. It just looks like this onslaught of falling symbols. That was how I was living. All of these points of view were just running the show. They were running everything about my life, and I couldn't even see them. And then all of a sudden, which wasn't all of a sudden at all, because at that point I had been attempting to figure this out for a while. All of a sudden, I could finally read the code, and it wasn't pretty. I could see clear as day the continuous torrent of thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, and points of view that were running my life. It was astounding. Fast forward 10 years of working with this acknowledgement with varying degrees of success, and I am seeing the power of this hack more and more clearly every day. When I first discovered this mental insanity that I was choosing to live in, I made a choice to not judge the living shit out of myself for having all of those points of view or for running those narratives. I chose a radical hack. That's sarcasm right there. I wasn't going to be a self-judgy schmuck. I would just get honest with myself, acknowledge all of the crazy things that were going on in my head, but this time I would just be present with them. I would acknowledge them. I would observe them. I would be curious about them and question their validity instead of immediately buying them as real and true. My new mental narrative went something like this. Wow, that's an interesting point of view. Is it really true? Is that the kind of point of view that I'd like to be living from? Is that even mine? Or did I just pick it up somewhere along the way and buy it as the right way to live? Is it creating the life and living that I actually know is possible? Or is it just keeping me swirling in this cesspool of self-judgment and ridicule? I have a choice here. Would I like to maintain this? Or would I like to let that crazy one go? Choosing to be diligently aware of every thought you think and every word that comes out of your mouth is exhausting at first. And if you have the courage and the tenacity, it is also one of the most kind and freeing choices that you can ever make for yourself. The payoff for me, priceless. My options were to stay in this insanely debilitating mental prison of cruelty and self-judgment, or be diligent for a little while, build a new muscle, and completely hack my way out of anxiety, depression, overwhelm, and continuous panic attacks. Yeah, it was worth it. Over the last few years, I've actually upgraded this hack when I learned a new tool from Access Consciousness. If you're interested in checking them out, their website's in the description below. The upgraded hack to the hack. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. You ready to integrate this hack? Here are your steps. Number 1, be willing to actually see the points of view that you're functioning from and not judge yourself when you see what they are. Number 2, question them, which is as simple as saying, interesting point of view, I have this point of view. Is this really the point of view I'd like to have? instead of immediately buying it as real and true. Third step, ask another question. Is this really the point of view that I'd like to be functioning from? Or what other point of view could I have that would actually create the life and living that I would like to be experiencing? Fourth step, don't be a judgy schmuck. Yes, you, I'm talking to you. Do not judge yourself through this entire process. Do not judge yourself for having any of those thoughts or that self-narrative. Just observe them. Fifth step, be vigilant with yourself. Be diligent. Catch yourself. Every single thing you think and say, observe all of it. Observe every point of view that goes on in your head and that comes out of your mouth. And recognize that they are in fact creating your life exactly as it is showing up. This is important. Do not take my word for it. You've got to discover this for yourself. You've got to see if it's actually useful for you or not. I was probably told about the power of our thoughts about 32 million times before I chose to finally have a look at it for me. If you're fed up enough and finally finished living in a mentally constructed prison of self-criticism and judgment and continuous head trip, just know that there is something else possible. How do you get there? Just start noticing. Start paying attention to the thoughts that you think, the things that you say, and curiously question their validity. Is this really the point of view that I'd like to be living from? If I wasn't letting this point of view run my life, what else would be possible that I haven't even considered yet? Be curious. What kind of life and living would you like to be having? The choice really is yours. And as always, know that you know. Thanks, peeps. See you again soon. Subscribe, comment, like, share, do all the stuff and the things. I'd be super grateful.